Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have another Mother's Day card to share with you, and this one might surprise you on my YouTube channel because it has to do with tons of die cut flowers. And normally me and flowers, it really doesn't go well. I try it from time to time, but these Spellbinders flowers, it's the mini blooms and springs. It's just spectacular. I loved it the moment that I think Spellbinders shared with these flowers. There are several cardstock colors, and I really wanted to have them, so I asked Card Nouveau to get them, and I actually have this die set quite a long time already, but I just was afraid to use it. So I'm doing that today for a Mother's Day card, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, so I'm glad to be sharing this video with you, and I hope that it can inspire you. Maybe you're like me and you're a tiny bit afraid of flowers. It can work out. It just depends on what you find, I think. I try to look for really simple flowers whenever I color flowers or anything like that, but these are so sweet and delicate and tiny, and there are several kinds of it in it. So that's maybe why I was really convinced about this set. I used Concord 9 cardstocks except for the really light green that I will be using for the greenery. That one is from Gina Designs. It's the key lime cardstock. But in case you want to revisit what I used, I just added everything in the description box down below, as well as on my blog post, so you can easily find everything over there. Now, about the die cutting, I showed it a tiny bit in the beginning just to help me die cut tons at the same time. I just made sure to add them together, the flowers, with some purple tape, and then I added them on all of the cardstocks that I was going to use to really have tons of possibilities ready to go instead of die cutting everything separately, fiddling with the die cuts to get them in place. I did that a bit easier. And then it was all about finding a way to create a Mother's Day card with it. So I took the die cut from a pretty Pink Posh Mom, a really great set, the stamp set as well as the die set. And in my case, I just needed a big mom to really shine on this card. So that's why I just used the die cut. And I'm going to fill these letters up with flowers, greenery, etc. So I'm doing that here. I don't think that I'm going to show everything because I kind of think you know the idea. I tried the yellow centers on the flowers here, on those small flowers, but I didn't like it. So eventually I used colors from the other, leftover colors actually, from the reds, from the pink, and so on, to replace the yellow. I will use those yellow centers on other flowers. Also, I decided to go with wheat cardstock from Concord 9 to die cut the mom with. It gives it kind of a really natural vibe. I first wanted to do it on white and then really fill it up with the flowers to show the several letters. But then I thought, if I'm not going to fill them completely, then we might get lost and we might not see the mom. So that's why I decided to go with a color, but still a neutral or a more muted one. So yeah, that was the whole logic behind it. So here I'm starting again on those flowers. I really didn't like it with the yellow, and I couldn't get rid of the yellow without ruining everything. Also, while adhering all of the flowers, I am not completely adding liquid glue all over the back. You can still judge it if you want to. I ended up not doing that eventually. I just forgot, I think, so I can still do that before I put this card in the envelope, however. So still possibilities there. I must admit that assembling these letters with the flowers, I found it really therapeutic. It was kind of a lot of fun to puzzle with all of these tiny elements. As you see here as well, an embellishment wand, any kind, will really help you with all those tiny elements. And then of course some tweezers can help you as well with that. So for the greenery on the M here, I decided to snip off some of the excess. I will also do that on the O, but I'm not doing that with everything. I don't want to snip off all of the flowers or the big greenery, but just those tiny leaves. I just snipped it off to later on also help me with placing everything. I tried not to have too much overhanging on the bottom part to really be able to use my T-square ruler, but in the end I'm going to add some other cardstocks behind, so there was enough wheel room as well without snipping off all of the excess. So everything came together kind of organically here, just trying to puzzle as much on it as I could. And also trying to not have too many times the same colors next to each other, but that I achieved kind of pretty well. So yeah, liquid glue for the win here. And as you can see, you don't need a ton of liquid glue either. Just make sure it's adhered, and that is already quite a lot. So only a few more elements, and I find it funny that I filmed it or everything, but it's good. This way you can see that nothing was really planned. And I had to revisit some of the positioning that I did. Like here on my first M, afterthought, I didn't like how I added everything. So I just removed some in case it wasn't a possibility to really remove. I had to figure something else out. Here I wasn't sure anymore about that one flower, so I wanted to remove it, but it was kind of stuck. I will remove it still, and I will replace in the end the flower by a leaf to not show any damage that I might have created while removing the flower. You see, sometimes it's really a struggle to get things in place, but just keep wiggling with the things until you're really sure about it. Ask around. Not that I have that help. My man isn't really into the crafting slash designing things, so he's just alright with everything that I do, even when I'm doubting about it, and that doesn't really help. So go back, return a few hours later, the next day, anything really is possible. Now, to go behind my wheat cardstock, I decided to die cut the mom twice out of also some cardstocks that I already used on the flowers. I think it's the, wait a second, I have no clue. Wait, marmalade and poppy, is that an option? I don't know, but everything is listed again down below. So if the recipient of this card is tilting the card, she will see the several colors that are behind, but it's really subtle. You can also offset it a bit, but these letters are already so big that I didn't want to create any bigger letters than already intended by the die cut. So I just keep adding everything, and then I will work on my card the composition of the card. I must admit that when this card was finished, I had to return a few days after even, because I was just doubting whether it was too much white. It's really this word and then just a border on the bottom, and for the rest there is nothing on the card. And I wasn't sure about it because even though I make clean and simple cards, I don't make clean and simple cards with flowers necessarily, and so it was a bit outside of my comfort zone. So my card base is white, but I'm going to add the white from the Transotype Perfect Coloring Paper on top. It's a bit of a brighter white than my cardstock itself. And I ended up adding a border on the bottom. I'm using some glitter cardstock, and again those two pink orangey kind of colors that I used behind the mom as well. There isn't any logic on the size. I just trimmed a piece off. The gold glitter is bigger, and then I have two really small slivers of those two other cardstocks. So first, that white paper, I'm adding a piece that is bigger. Well, it's a complete piece of paper that is bigger than my cardstock. Next, I take my trimmer and I trim off all of the excess. This way I am sure that the complete front panel of my card base is covered with this white paper. Next, I will add all of the rest. Also, the slivers that I have die cut are again bigger than what I need, so I will trim off the excess again with my paper trimmer, making sure here that it is straight on the bottom of that card base. Next, a colored sliver here, and then the other will go against it. So it's really thin, so I decided for the second one to add the liquid glue on top of the sliver itself, so that there wasn't any liquid glue above where I needed to add it. Like that. Just pressing it down a bit more, and then I took my paper trimmer. It's easier if you wait a tiny bit longer to make sure that it is completely dry, that it will not move anytime soon, and then trim off the excess, but call me impatient. So the other side, so it's a really thin, subtle border, but it refers back to the mom, and then with the glitter it's really fun as well to have it a bit more shiny. Always nice. Next I have to add the mom, and since I have these flowers I cannot use the negative from the die cut to help me get it exactly in place. I need to make sure that all of the flowers have kind of the space to be showcased. So here I'm using my T-square ruler to sort of try to have it centered, as well as spacing in between the letters to have it kind of alright. So I'm starting in the middle with the O, and then I'm going to add the other letters next to it. Here the only thing that I need to take into account is that it's on one line, therefore I'm using the T-square ruler, and at the same time I'm taking into account the white space on the right and left side, whether it's kind of the same, so that it looks as centered as possible. Like that, and once it's dry, this card is completely finished. I didn't add any more items, but I had to get used to the idea of just leaving it as is. But I'm happy with it right now. I took some time to get used to it, and that's my card for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you like the end result. Maybe I could inspire you today for a new card of you. I hope I did. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!